Our world as we know it is about to change forever. It's already been predicted. We know it's on the horizon, but we're about to enter a jobless society. We are living in the age of AI, aka the greatest age of technology we've ever lived in. It is just a matter of time till almost every job that humans do can be automated. If you're one of those wise critical thinkers looking ahead to this future, and you're asking yourself with me, what does a post-slavery economy even look like? What will money and life look like in this world? And how can I make the most of what's coming? By arming myself with knowledge around what is about to happen, then you're in the right place. I've been talking about UBI, AGI, the automation of jobs, the future of work, with AI replacing up to 100% of all jobs, whether it's driving a truck or writing that New York Times bestseller. The automation of all of these jobs has been predicted by over 2,700 AI researchers. Last January of 2023, I started working full-time in AI. Actually, the same month that study came out. I sold my human-only writing agency, got out of the human content writing life, and jumped ahead in January of 2023, joining the best AI tool stack I could find that was actually replacing my job. And over the last year, I've been learning so much about what is to come. In a recent video, I talked about how UBI could potentially solve job disruption due to AI. This video was the result of several eye-opening revelations where, for the first time in my life, I've completely separated politics, party views, whether conservative, communist, socialist, you name it. I've stepped outside of those labels and taken a critical look at what is going to be best for humanity in an era of automated work. A jobless society. In that video, I explained why UBI is a potential good idea, but I want to take that deeper in this video. I have received hundreds of comments asking me, Julia, why don't you lay out your plan for what the new economy should and could look like? And I think y'all know by now that my goal in a post-labor society is to actually help build the new economy. I've never been more obsessed in my life with any topic than studying AGI, automation, and how the world as a whole will respond and how economies will be rebirthed. As a former writer, entrepreneur, agency owner, and now my day job is working in AI at continent scale with some incredibly bright minds, building what we hope is the future of functional content and productivity tools for the workforce. I get to see a lot and have a lot of thought-provoking conversations. Here in the office, we all work together in about the future. I think that we will see, so I hope you're ready. This is the deepest dive to date on a post-labor economy that I have done, so buckle in, let's go. First of all, there's going to have to be a major rebirth for a post-labor society to even happen. And unfortunately, just like with any birth, there comes blood, destruction. Something usually dies for something to live. When a plant comes out of a seed, that seed breaks apart and that shell is lifeless. On a much bigger scale, we're going to see some major economy collapse. That could look like the total collapse of the housing market, of the fiat dollar, of the value of things. But we shouldn't be alarmed when we see this, because this in part has to happen in order for the jobless society with a new currency to emerge successfully. And the quick acceleration of the destruction of our economy as we know it is going to have to happen for lawmakers to get with it, collect the brightest minds, and build the new economy. In one of my videos, How to Lose Your Job to AI, I present this idea that one of the best things you could do is to actually put yourself out of work unless you're working in or with AI. If you're not working in AI, you need to put yourself in a place of continual learning, and that usually means taking yourself out of a work or even education environment where you're not learning anything new, you're not stimulating yourself, and you're not getting ready for what's coming. I think the number one most important step you could take in your life right now to future-proof yourself is simply to learn about what's coming. And you're watching this video, so you've already taken that step. Congrats to you. But back to the topic. when the economy collapses, and I think we will see this happen somewhere around the year 2030, 2035, I am 80% sure that this will happen by or during 2030, meaning the collapse of the economy as we know it and the rebirth of a post-labor society. But will UBI reign supreme? I think that there are several pitfalls to UBI. As an economy driver, I think the idea of it is spot on, and you can see why I believe that poverty is the problem, not the person. In my video, will UBI solve AI job disruption? But we need to reimagine. We need to think differently about UBI for it to work and for it to be palatable to the masses. I think as we approach a jobless society, the bridge is going to be important to go from the collapse of our society and our economy as we know it to a new one. Empowering our kids to become creators, to learn from creators, to think like entrepreneurs, to really use and exercise the muscle of critical thinking will be so important, because the labor society will die as we know it. But I think the creator economy has more inside of it to withstand and adapt to AI. So honestly, training our kids and even ourselves to think like creators is a great first step towards this bridge into a new economy. I believe that we can create something I call a dividends-based earth stewardship that hinges on the idea of UBI, which has an excellent framework and solves the problem that we're going to face without any jobs of mass homelessness and people without resources. Listen to what Sam Altman recently said about how the social contract is changing.
I still expect, although I don't know what, and this is over a long period of time, this is not a like next year or, the year after that kind of thing. Over a long period of time, I still expect that there will be some change required to the social contract, given how powerful we expect this technology to be. I'm not a believer that there won't be any jobs. I think we always find new things to do, but I do think like the whole structure of society itself will, be up for some degree of debate and reconfiguration.
And that reconfiguration will be led by the large language model companies.
No. Just the way the whole economy works, and what society decides we want to do. And this has been happening for a long time.
And the Anthropic founder, a brilliant person named Dario Amodei, said that UBI is okay, but we don't want this dystopia where no one contributes. And we've actually got to think bigger than a universal basic income. We need, he said, a broader economic reorganization. So first of all, what is UBI? Universal basic income is a reoccurring payment paid directly in cash in whatever currency the recipient transacts in. It is universal to all, not based on gender, age, race, country. It is paid on an individual basis, not a household basis. And it is unconditional. Unlike welfare, you don't have to sign up to a million programs or qualify in a million different troublesome steps to have to get it. Sam Altman has raised this interesting idea of something he calls UBC, Universal Basic Compute. Listen to what he says about it.
Now that we see some of the ways that AI is developing, I wonder if there's better things to do than the traditional conceptualization of UBI. I wonder if the future looks something like more like universal basic compute than universal basic income. And everybody gets like a slice of GPT-7's compute, and they can use it, they can resell it, they can donate it to somebody to use for cancer research. But what you get is not dollars, but this like productivity slice. Yeah, you own like part of the productivity.
Now, the glaring problem with this that a lot of folks on Reddit, X, etc. rightfully fear is that by working in compute as a currency, are we just helping tech elites like Sam Altman themselves make a bunch more money? And are we giving up all of our monetary rights to get this compute? While that is a somewhat limited view, if compute is in fact way more valuable than the fiat dollar, it might be something to consider. But that said, I do think that is a valid point. Elon Musk has raised the idea of UHI, or Universal High Income. Listen to this interesting clip where he talks about what if we, as humans, actually end up giving the AI meaning.
I think the biggest issue is that it has to be trained to be rigorously truthful, and it has to be trained to be curious. And I've thought a lot about AI safety for a long time. In a benign scenario, probably none of us will have a job. there will be, but in that benign scenario, there will be universal high income, not universal basic income, universal high income. There will be no shortage of goods or services. And I think the benign scenario is the most likely scenario, probably, 80% likely if you ask, in my opinion. The question will not be one of lacking goods or services. You'll have, everyone will have access to as much in the way of goods and services as they would like. The question will really be one of meaning, of how, if the computer can do and the robots can do everything better than you, then does your life have meaning? That's really will be the question in the benign scenario. And in the negative scenario, well, bets are off. We're in deep trouble. So I do think there's still a role for humans in this, in that we may give AI meaning. So if you think of the way that our brain works, we've got the limbic system, which is our instincts and our feelings, and then we've got the cortex, which is thinking and planning. But the cortex is constantly trying to make the limbic system happy. So maybe that's how it'll be with AI, which is the AI is trying to make our cortex happy, which is trying to make our limbic system happy, and maybe we are what give the AI meaning or purpose.
And through us, we provide value to the AI. I think that hoping that the government will put together a good strategy is not a good strategy for us to rely on. And I think we need to be proactive in thinking about what could work in a jobless society, in a post-labor economy. To get the answer, I want to take you back to the 1790s, when Thomas Paine, one of the forefathers of America, wrote a book called Agrarian Justice. And I believe there are clues in this book from hundreds of years ago to help us navigate the AI age and get a sense of how to redistribute the wealth that AI brings back into humanity itself. In this book, Paine talks about liberty and equality and how these are often misunderstood and misapplied words, and how the rights of man need to be protected from oppression. He talks about this idea of natural property which is bestowed to us. We don't own the dirt under our feet, even if we own a deed to that land. We didn't create that earth. And in a natural state, poverty doesn't actually exist. Yes, there are instances in the desert of plants not having enough water, but then the rain comes, the sun shines, and in a natural state on Earth itself has the resources it needs to exist. So should humanity live, was Paine's argument. And Paine had this idea of a national fund that could be distributed to every person living, based on this idea that the earth is the common property of the human race. Look, I believe that AI is also the common property of the human race. LLMs, large language models, are the direct result of over a decade of internet usage by billions of people. LLMs themselves would not exist had humanity themselves not been using the internet to build the data we now have in these LLMs. Sure, NVIDIA invented the compute power to be able to run ChatGPT, and tech giants at OpenAI, Google, Meta, Anthropic, XAI, etc. continue to innovate and put these resources together. But all in all, the technology itself came from the human race. And that's why I believe that we should see the skyrocketing profits of businesses that no longer have to employ humans be redistributed in what could be best called dividends to the human race in a structure very similar, if not identical, to UBI, but based on the idea of stewardship, that we are each good stewards of the earth. Listen, when it comes to human happiness, I have this simple formula. These two things put together equal happiness for the human race. And what if happiness is what we optimized for? Not the most money, not the biggest house, not the most acreage. What if happiness came from things that cannot be measured monetarily, like more moments with each other, real-time conversations with people that think as deeply as we do, more time to learn, to immerse in nature, be with our families, raise our children? That defines levels of happiness that no price can be put on. The two things that generally equal human happiness are, number one, time. Without time, we can't exercise our state of humanity. We can't be a human without time. And then the resources to be able to spend that time doing the thing we really want to do, we cannot achieve happiness. And I believe that reallocating the dividends from the major players, the biggest companies in the world that are about to make massive profits by automating most of the jobs, and then every business in the world that also stands to benefit from not having to hire another human. Well, we take those profits, we redistribute them as dividends across humanity, and we give humanity back their time because now they have the resources to use that time without having to sign up for a job where they feel like they're selling their soul because they don't get that time with family, that time to find out human meaning. I think that Thomas Paine had it right when he portrayed this idea of stewarding the earth and its natural resources and creating a baseline social insurance system that was universal and unconditional, which has been implemented all over the world. UBI test pilots have run all across the world in many different scenarios, but we've never been able to achieve a grand rollout on a world scale. And because of what automation and AI is about to do in every job, in every industry, we have the chance to reallocate some serious profits into dividends that can be unconditional and universal if we optimize, not for the most capital, not for the biggest house, not for the most acreage, etc., but for human happiness, which cannot be attached to a price tag, but rather to time. I think we're about to enter the greatest age of abundance we've ever seen, and I think a dividends-based earth stewardship is going to be one of the best ways to reallocate the profits that AI brings us into. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the comments. Let me know. And as always, hit that like, subscribe button, and I'll see you down the next rabbit hole.